as the program goes along. So we're going to start the ball rolling this evening as I introduce the first speaker this evening. And our first speaker happens to be the president of the League of Young Socialists, Ms. Roshana Tring. Can we put our hands together and welcome her?
Comrades, good afternoon. Y'all don't sound like y'all come to a BLP meeting. Comrades, good afternoon. All right, we sound like we're comrades in here. And so this afternoon, I want to bring you some warm greetings from St. Michael South, because that is my constituency, but I'm sure Comrade Kurt Humphrey will do that a bit later, but also from the League of Young Socialists. It's been the first time since being president that I've been in St. Philip West, and I want to thank Honorable Kay McConney, Comrade Kay McConney, for inviting us here this afternoon, and I look forward to being able to spend more time in St. Philip West. Over the last week or so, I've been giving a lot of thought to a lot of things, and when I was asked to speak this afternoon, I gave some thought as to what I might like to say. And as I thought about it, one of the questions that popped up, someone reached out about joining the League, was why did I join the Barbados Labour Party? And I feel like that is a good place to start, because oftentimes when we speak in politics, we ignore how personal the political is. And so people often say that in a party, no matter what party, is the same thing. And I know that we don't agree. I know that we cannot agree because we have joined and we support a party that has a legacy. And I strongly believe that those who do not know the past are doomed to repeat it. And so for that reason, when I consider why I joined the BLP, I joined because of the legacy that it has. It has a legacy of leadership. A legacy of leadership that cannot just be linked to one person, but can be linked to successive leaders all having the same strategy, all following the same thought, all wanting the same thing, all subscribing to the same goal, building the best life for our people. That is it. Regardless of how many times you check who was the leader of the Barbados Labour Party, who were the candidates, who were our representatives, who spoke on our behalf, that has always been our legacy. And so there is no division here because we know exactly where we are going. There is a North Star for us, and that is the development of Barbados. We have a legacy of good governance. The Barbados Labour Party knows how to govern and how to do so fairly, recognizing that all Barbadians, regardless of where you come from, who you are, what you want, your ability, no matter what part of Barbados you come from, what nook and cranny you may reside in, the Labour Party has always governed with the best intentions of every single Barbadian. But we also have a legacy of enfranchisement, and they would like to tell you different. They would like to say to you that this is not the party of the Freehold Tenantry Act. They would like to tell you that this is not the party that has expanded and continues to expand and invest in education. They will have you imagine that this party did not mount a couple years ago a plan to eradicate pit toilets in Barbados. They will not tell you that we have expanded the social welfare nets over and over and over, and we continue to reach out to the most vulnerable. This party has a legacy that persons would wish to tell you otherwise, but when you check the history books, it is clear who we are and what we stand for. And so in 2017, when I joined the Barbados Labour Party, I did so aware that I was supporting and I was joining and rallying with a team, a family that was fully committed to seeing Barbadians of every walk of life succeed and achieve. And you know, I start with the legacy of leadership because we could boast about every single leader of the Barbados Labour Party. And you don't even have to be a leader to boast. We could boast about MPs. We could boast about our ministers. We can boast about the work being done because we understand what it is to offer good service. And that service is not about self. Service is not about how you wake up and feel today, because it has never been about you. When you offer yourself to leadership and service, you do so regardless of how you feel on the day, because you know you have a responsibility to the persons who have elected you, and we see it daily. Those who have been absent in representation would not understand that, and so they may have gone to where they better belong. And because we have a legacy of leadership, we understand that leadership means that you are operating on a team. You cannot be in the Labour Party if you do not know what teamwork is, if you were about self. We also understand democratic processes. We have one happening right now in our party. And so we understand that we have to respect the democratic processes of our party. And if you cannot do that, you may find yourself in a position where you have a shadow cabinet, and then you having a press conference, but your political leader is not present, your party leader is not present. So you might be confused about what strong leadership is and what good leadership is if you are not accustomed to service nor working on a team. This will never be the party for you. And so because we have leadership beyond Grantley Adams and Tom Adams, and because we can talk about Bree St. John, and because we have Owen Arthur in our midst, and because we have a leader like Mia Amor Motley, we understand what the goal is, and we remain focused on what has always been our North Star in the Barbados Labour Party: building a better life, the best life for our people. So when I joined in 2017, there was no doubt that this was the party for me. And I know that persons thought, because I was the youth prime minister at one point in time, I would be a Dem. But I have always been a B, and red has always been my favorite color. So let us come to the present. A lot of things are happening. Some of them we wish that we could be removed from. I wish that I never had to know what was happening in George Street again, because that is not politics. There is no leadership happening in there. And so let us focus on what this government is doing. This government has been making difficult decisions for the sake of transformation. And we have to realize and remember that transformation does not come easy. Transformation does not come overnight. Transformation does not happen simply because we will it to be so, but transformation takes time. Sometimes you realize that what you want to do isn't what the people want, and so you step back and go to consultations once again. This government does that. This government understands that the transformation that we want, if we are creating the best Barbados for our children, grandchildren, and our family, that transformation requires that we address the challenges in the NIS, and we did that. This government understands that in order for us to create a Barbados where all Barbadians thrive, we needed to get on education, and we are doing that. We understand that in Barbados, that it is impossible for us to simply focus on academia if we are going to ensure that everyone succeeds. We understand that the school system that we have has to change, and so we have set out to do that. And we may not agree as soon as we set off. Transformation is not going to be easy, like I said, but transformation requires all of us to show up and all of us to have an input. And I want to say to Comrade K that the consultations that you have had, the fact that you continue consulting, the plan that you have put forward, the work that you have been doing, no minister nobody that ever come on TV and told Barbadians that they were willing to crack skulls of school children can tell you that you are not doing an exceptional job. The National Student Council, and I don't know if we recognize how important it is. we have launched our National Student Council, something that we have not had in a long time, if ever before. It has held elections. The fact that young people are also giving impact into their transformation of the education system is amazing, because oftentimes children do not get any input into what we are doing for them. In the same vein, we want to protect the most vulnerable, and that includes children. And so the child protection legislation, which is coming back to Parliament, because we heard, we listened, and Comrade Kurt Humphrey took it back to Select Joint Committee so that there could be more input. And now it is coming back because we have listened. And I want to be clear that democracy requires listening. Democracy is not simply voting at an election and then the next time you have a say or the government listens to what you are saying is the next election. So if I come to you and say, this is the bill, and you don't, and there comes some confusion, so we're going to take it back to have it reviewed, that is not an indecisive government. That is not a government that does not know what it is doing. That is what democracy looks like. And we have to be tired of passive democracies where we say nothing, or if we say something, no one listens to us. That has not been the practice of this government. Every citizen has been involved. And so when the child protection legislation returns and is brought back to Parliament, it is going to once again seek to protect children who oftentimes are being abused, are living in situations that should be much better, but they do not have a voice, or no one listens to them. The bill offers them a voice. And so, as we talk about the present, one of the things that sticks out to me, and I go back to education, because education is very personal to me. And I'll say why. I was a student at university when we were made to pay the additional funds. University fees increased by about 500+%. What did that mean for persons who were there, from households like mine, working class households? It meant that something that I believed would help me to get my family out of a difficult situation, I no longer had access to. A ladder for enfranchisement had been removed. And so I find it interesting in present day when we are having a conversation about education and we act as though this government has not continuously invested in education since its inception. I remember when UE was a ghost town. I remember when they had no Barbadian students, because I was there when we went from having a full slate to the point where they were canceling classes because there were not enough students enrolled. And so when we speak about what the government is doing right now, and we could be honest, we don't like everything, but we have to acknowledge that sometimes we take short-term pains for long-term gains. And that is what transformation is about. It is about having growing pains. You cannot transform if you are not willing to go beyond where you have gone before. And I want to wrap up on something with something very simple. We cannot get distracted. There's a lot of white noise right now, and I'm not even sure it's white noise, so just noise. Just noise everywhere, whether it be podcasts, whether it be in the other room in our street. You pick it, there is noise. But if you listen carefully, amidst that noise, there is still the call to get on board. There is the call for us to stay on board. There is a call for us to stand up. Something about the bees buzzing is getting louder to me because we understand that this is a time for us to not get comfortable or complacent. This is the time where we dig into the transformation that we have committed to. And it means that in not getting distracted, that we rally around the 29 strong. It means that we rally around them by canvassing. It means that we rally around them by sometimes you hear your friend being disgruntled and you take the time to explain to them what is going on, because your MP, your minister will not hit every door, but we got to hit the doors for them. It means that sometimes you have to be vocal. It means that on the days that you might not want to get up and go to consultation, you got to go because you need to have your voice heard. This is a party that encourages active participation. This is a party that understands that every Barbadian, no matter what nook and cranny you come from, no matter how tall you are, the color of your skin, what job you are in, we understand and we see you, and we are doing our best to make sure that Barbados is the best place for you to live, work, do business, raise a family, and have some fun. And so, my message to you is simple this afternoon. We have a legacy. We are doing the hard work, the transformative work, the real work. We are doing what is required for governance and a strong democracy. But possibly most importantly, it is to not get distracted. It is to not get distracted because the laughs and giggles that we might get from the other room will not benefit us in the way that we want it to. It will not benefit our children. And so I want to say this afternoon to not get distracted by the comedians in George Street, but to focus on serious business, on serious politics, and on the work of Mia Amor Motley and the Barbados Labour Party. Thank you so much.
Whoa. Thank you so much, Roshana. And it's a legacy that has been built by the Barbados Labour Party, as the young lady spoke. But when she said legacy, I applauded that as well. But also, coming from the League of Young Socialists, I have seen future leaders. When I look and see the weight that was on the shoulders of Chad Blackman, presently Lorenzo here with these kind of things, I said, this is what we groomed. This is what the Barbados Labour Party produced. These came from among the League of Young Socialists, and they are all a part of us. We are so proud of this legacy and of the Barbados Labour Party. Moving ahead, we are going to have the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Charles Griffith. Give him a rousing round of applause.
Good evening, comrades. Blessings on us all. I'm going to try to have my time this evening revolve around two words, goodbye and hello. You know, this morning, strange enough, we started with a song. This morning I was in church. There was an installation service in my community this morning, and I got there a couple minutes late. And I was ushered to a seat in the front row, and it's only half an hour into the meeting that I realized Ronnie Wayward was in St. John. Ronnie Wayward. And I mean, for some reason or the other, these people don't understand that in 2018, goodbye was the word used across Barbados. And he was there, and I'm sure that I heard him grumbling with his wife about, oh, they're putting me behind all the time, I'm second all. But as St. John, what do you expect? You know what I'm saying? There's no vacancies in St. John for Mr. Wayward. But this evening, I want to speak a little bit about the things that are happening within my ministry, things that are happening in government for our young people. Because like I said, in 2018, in a resounding way, this country said goodbye to the Democratic Labour Party. Goodbye to the stagnation of our young people in this country. And for the first time, I am agreeing with the Kalmanomics thing about less being more. Because the things that are happening within my ministry for the young people in this country are so many things that I keep saying every time I speak that it is a good time to be a young person in this island. Now, one of the things that, and note that I'm speaking from a background of being in that ministry for 20 years. Those 10 years that impacted our young people. And the young people in St. John, as in across this country as well, said goodbye to the fact that we were not getting anything coming from the Democratic Labour Party to move us forward. You heard Ms. Trim in her presentation just now speaking about what happened at the University of West Indies. But let me share some of the things, because every time that I speak, people keep saying to me, you know, we are not aware that these are the things that are happening for young people in this country. Last night, I happened to be at an event with Minister Lane and Minister McConney, and there was a youngster there who was saying hello to life again. Hello because he was incarcerated for, he said, 13 years. 13 years. And through my ministry, he was able, in a way, to say hello to a new start. Because one of the things that I asked one of the officers to do is to carry our programs within the prison system to try to reintegrate those youngsters who are in my target age back into society by providing them with a tangible skill. And we partnered with the BCC Palmerine to go into the prison system, directly into the prison system, to deliver a program for about 25 persons who were interested in being involved in bartending, and it was bartending and food preparation, I believe. And I'm saying that at every turn you look across this country, our young people are saying hello to new initiatives that are coming from my ministry and by extension, government. What am I talking about? All across this country, you're seeing youngsters who are struggling in relation to having someone to speak to them, having someone to act as a sounding board. Last year, we introduced a program, a mentorship program, a national mentorship program. And by the way, just to say that I had my secretary type every single thing from in our manifesto from 2018 and 2022, and those are my targets in terms of trying to hit every single one of them. And we were asking for a mentorship program. A mentorship program is now in place where young persons can reach out and interact with someone called a mentor that is allowing them to say hello in terms of the changes that we want to see happen in their lives. We started last year with 50 mentors and 50 mentees, ended up with about 47. So you can see that it is impacting. We're about to launch the second phase for our youngsters again to be able to say hello to this. You have heard about the struggle that our young people had coming out of COVID in terms of coping, in terms of the problems that they were having with mental health. One of the things that we did was to start last year a national youth hotline, again for our young people to be able to say hello to a voice at the other end that will allow them to share whatever struggles that they're going through, and if necessary to bump those calls up to qualified professionals who would provide all of the services that are required. We have MOUs with the Social Work Association, with the Psychiatric Hospital to make that a possibility. But then let me speak about another area, and it is unfortunate that the leader of the opposition in Parliament, I think the last time he spoke, said that government is doing nothing for young people who we consider to be at risk or those guys on the blocks. And I'm suggesting to you this evening that this government is saying hello to all of the blocks across Barbados through an initiative called Project Dawn, headed by Marcus Stevens, who's head of the block committee. What am I talking about? 2 days before the opposition leader spoke in Parliament, I was at SJPI launching another aspect of Project Dawn, where we had in excess of 200 youngsters, not all from the blocks, but the majority of them being involved in programs at the SJPI. And Project Dawn is a program where we are seeking, like I said, similar to the prison system, to reintegrate those guys who we see on the blocks back into mainstream. And how are we doing that? Two ways. We are providing technical assistance by, if for example, there's a guy in minister's constituency who's on the blocks and they want to get involved in landscaping, we provide the necessary equipment for them to be involved. All that we require is that you invest in yourself by registering a business to show us that you're serious about your future. And we had over 200 persons at SJPI sourcing programs that will allow them two things. One, to acquire entry-level certification for the job market, or two, if they so desire to become self-employed, then they have a piece of paper that is valid that they can hang on the wall. So if they cut in my hair, that's not a good example, is it? But if they cut in here, then they have something saying, look, we have qualified as a barber to charge you $25 per haircut. And one of the things about this is that these guys who reside on the blocks, who we believe are not interested, are into Pond Marine, they're into SJPI, and they are into these programs without the requisite 4 CXC qualifications that are required for the mainstream students that are coming from our secondary schools. And shortly you will see a documentary on television about this particular program in terms of how it is impacting the lives of our youngsters on this island. And I'm saying to you that working in the ministry for 20 years, the Democratic Labour Party said goodbye to our young people. And I know what I'm talking about. The only project, and I've mentioned before, that came from the Democratic Labour Party as far as sports was the Silver Hill road tennis competition in the minister's constituency. One initiative. And what we have done in sports, and like everybody else in this country, I know and I want the national stadium as well, and it is coming. But what have we done in terms of sports? So I had a young person, a mother, in the constituency of St. John, and all of us have mothers within our constituency with a youngster who is skilled in a particular discipline, who's making the necessary things right in terms of the academics. But we had 2 people on island. 2 people on island. One was charging $450, the other one was charging $600 to prep these youngsters for the SAT programs. If they want to go to a college in the state, you have to do the SAT programs in order for you to get in. And government last year in January started a national program at the ministry where we undertook the responsibility to pay for all youngsters in this island who are so interested in being involved in scholarships. We said, look, we are not going to burden those mothers. Government is going to take on that responsibility. And I am saying that these are the things that our young people on island are now saying hello to. The fact that there's a caring Barbados Labour Party who's looking after the needs, and we are catering to the needs and the aspirations of all of our young people on island, every single one of them. But particularly those who are marginalized, those who from their socio-economic background are struggling to get to the next level. We are doing what is necessary to ensure that every single boy and girl that you see in this island, there's a fighting chance to say hello to life and hello to moving up the ladder one step at a time. And we will not rest because, like I said, I have been in the ministry for 20 years and I know what is required in order to move us forward. And we have the old Bleming facility, the old National Sports Council facility. And I suspect in a month or so that it will be totally transformed into a national secretariat for all the federations on island. For the first time for the first time in this country, for the first time probably anywhere in the Caribbean, government provided $20,000 in developmental money to every single federation on island. And then they will say to you that government is making sport at sports. But I'm sure that they're looking back to those 10 years where we said goodbye to. It is all about hello for our young people. So you have an opportunity for the national federations to have all of their paperwork done, all of their research done at one location to assist them in terms of how they treat the particular discipline that they're involved in. But we're doing more. At the same location, there's going to be 5 practice pitches, and we have ordered 2 bowling machines to ensure that cricket, that is almost our national religion, there's a permanent place in terms of how we treat to our youngsters going forward, because it is predominantly an academy for our young people. If you go to the Wilder Gymnasium, you will see that there's now a new beach volleyball court at the gymnasium. And somebody said to me, but Minister, how will you put in a beach volleyball inside of the location at Wildy? When last you saw an international beach volleyball played next to the sea? I mean, we have to move with the times. We need to be progressive in terms of how we treat the sports on island. Since going to the ministry, I've asked for 6 video cameras to be put in place at the National Sports Council. Why? This is 2024. This is the 21st century. And you cannot have a situation where you're developing sports and you're not doing video analysis. It is unheard of. We have a portal at the National Sports Council that if our athletes cannot go to the US to be involved in a particular sport so a coach can see them, then we take a video footage, we put it on the portal, and we say to the coach, look at this particular athlete, we want you to consider him for scholarship. So I'm saying to you that hello is the word for all of our young people on island now as it relates to youth development, as it relates to sports, because we're doing what is necessary. For the first time, every single registered club with a national federation is able to access $5,000 in grants in relation to if you have the club here and they're looking for boots, they're looking for stumps, they're looking for pads, $5,000 is made available from the National Sports Council. So I'm saying this evening that when you look at what has happened from 2018 and when you look at the 10 years prior to that, you would understand why there was a pause in terms of sports, why there was a pause in relation to our young people being developed at a level. I'm working in concert with Minister of Education for another initiative called Moving On. What is Moving On? Moving On is a project that is seeking to provide those youngsters who just completed the 11 plus, and they're coming now again, so I'm hoping that we can expand it again, to provide them with an opportunity that when they transition from primary to secondary school, that they're walking with a basket of deliverables from us that will allow them to cope. Money management, conflict resolution, anger management. All of these things are embedded in the program immediately when they finish the 11 plus program. So we're giving them an opportunity to say hello to a new way of life and goodbye to what is happening or what happened in the past as it relates to that. So rest assured that everything in the ministry is moving at a level where the trajectory of our young people will keep rising and rising. I have said before that it is the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment, but I treat it as the Ministry of Aviation because we are allowing our young people to fly. And when you hear the opposition leader talking about we are stymieing the growth of our young people, how can you as a parent or as a minister or as a government provide them with wings and then say to them, you cannot fly? It makes no sense. But that is the thinking and the rationale of a Democratic Labour Party that is bankrupt of ideas in order to move our young people forward. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Comrade.
to be going far or wide. What I'm saying here, Jamaica has been leading the region in capturing the greatest glory on athletic stadium across the region. Is there any plans of utilizing the coaches closer at home in Jamaica, which could be done if I suggest that you use the local coaches to have some sort of connection ready in doing this sort of training for young.
All right, so because of the amount of speakers, I didn't go into every single thing. Last week, I was in Washington at a conference and had to sit down with Minister Grange, Minister of Sports in Jamaica. And exactly what you're asking for is about to happen. They have worked with Trinidad in terms of developing the coaches there. My PS is supposed to check the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because Minister Grange said that she sent back an MOU. There's an MOU between Jamaica and us to do exactly what you're asking for, to exchange coaches, to be able to work with them in terms of how we develop. I'm not going to push it at this meeting, but I am concerned about the level of coaches. My thing is that if you're going to have a world-class athlete, you must match that athlete with a world-class coach. So this is one of the initiatives that we're working with Jamaica. I had a meeting with the coach from MV Track Club in my ministry when we had the function for Saturday. And subsequent to that, he asked for, and we have paid for another athlete to go to his club to function there as well. So I'm looking to see how, yes, we can have that marriage where we can fuse resources together in terms of working with Jamaica to develop the athletes on island. Yeah? And before I sit, like I said, I wanted to cut short, but hopefully next week or the week after, you will see work starting on the old netball stadium to turn that into a multi-discipline facility for netball, basketball, and volleyball. All right. Any further questions before I sit? No?
Loaders, and they want to know if that is earmarked for pavilion.
At Louders?
Yeah, this like on Water School.
Okay. Let me say to you this, right? Every single pavilion in St. Philip West, every single location in St. Philip West that sports is being played, the MP is in my ears about it. So rest assured that if it is not being fixed now, it will come.
General information.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Yes. All right. So, Minister will speak on that. Thank you again.
Thank you again, Minister Griffith. Goodbye was to bad things that came to us, but hello is a new word. So for the younger folks here and for those of us here, when we go around, we can let the young folks tell the others, hello, good things are still happening for the young people in St. Philip West and all across Barbados because this government is still doing wonderful things for them. Thanks again, Minister Griffith. It gives me great pleasure at this time to introduce to you the Minister of People's Empowerment, the young man dealing with the older folks, Mr. Kirk Humphrey.
Good evening, St. Philip West, and good evening to my Barbados Civil Party family. Those who may not be in the family, good evening to you too. Good evening to the media. To those who are following online, a very special good afternoon to all of you. It is really a pleasure to be back in St. Philip West. I had the privilege of speaking, I think, a couple times during the last election when we brought Kay to glory, and I will be part of that team that will bring her to glory again whenever the next set of elections occur. I ask myself, oftentimes, Who would I want beside me in difficult times and in times of battle? Those of us who have been battle-tested have had to deal with some of the most severe criticism, and justly so, and have come out shining at the other end. People like Kay McConney, I think, are going to be the backbone of this country as we go forward. I commend Kay to St. Philip West. You all have a great MP, and let no one tell you otherwise. I must also say that I know it is not easy being an education minister right now. It cannot be easy because many of us, I am tied to my school, as much as I think we need to change. I am tied to the St. Michael's School. You went to the Garrison School, now Graydon Sealy, you're tied to that school. Princess Margaret, you're tied to the school. Wherever you go to school, you're tied to it. You deeply want to honor it. It almost seems like sacrilege when we talk about changing schools and changing the way you get to that school. For those of us who wear our school ties on back to school day and epaulets and our dresses and skirts and so on, because we honor our school in different ways. And there may be some who might think in choosing to reform education that we do not honor the schools and honor our education and honor our ancestors the way that we ought to. But I believe that if Grantley Adams were here, Errol Barr were here, Tom, all the great leaders of the past, they would tell you that what they did was for that time. And what Kay is doing is for this time. And this is the time in which we live. We have to find a way to honor the things that have gone before while innovating and bringing new things, or we are wasting time. There will be no point in any of us if all we do is what's been done before. And that's been the problem, I think, with other governments, you see. They do what managers do. They come in and they do the same thing, but when it gets a little bit more difficult, they don't know how to handle it. Leaders have to deal with change. And we know that we have been dealing with change from the time that we came. I did not put on my safer with the BLP shirt by accident. Because if you think about the amount of things that we have had to deal with as a government, and if you think about the things that are now coming toward Barbados that we will have to deal with as a government, I assure you, you are safer with the Barbados Labour Party. And let nobody tell you otherwise. Let nobody tell you otherwise. It is my view that when Kay is finished with the transformation of Barbados, that it will transform Barbados and continue to give us benefits for another 50, 100 years, 150 years. This is important work, Kay. Continue to do what you're doing. Gird your loins. It is a long road, but you are doing a wonderful, wonderful job, and I am so proud of you. My ministry has a very good relationship with the Ministry of Education, as it must. I'm a social work ministry. We have a very good relationship with the Ministry of Education. I think we have a good relationship, as we must also, with the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Agriculture. I'm just calling the ministers over here, but we have a good relationship with all. But the Ministry of Agriculture, I think now, as you've been able to see, in urban Barbados, Indar has done a wonderful thing, allowing urban Barbados to be able to do farming. And continues also to do a wonderful job. But there seems to be an attack set of dogs against St. Philip MPs. And the problem is that St. Philip residents cannot sit idly by and allow people to terrorize their MPs because people believe that St. Philip somehow belongs to the other side. St. Philip belongs to the people of St. Philip. And St. Philip also belongs to the people who will bring it representation and proper leadership. And so I commend to you the MPs for St. Philip from the Barbados Labour Party side. I didn't come tonight to be overly political. I feel like there is going to be a time soon for that. But I have come to tell you that there is a point where if you want to come to office, you have to talk policy too. You can't just be cursing one another. You have to talk policy too. You have to be able to tell me if this is the current reality, what are your plans, what is the trajectory, and where you're taking me. Until you have heard such a conversation from the other side, then you know that it's just idle talk. And they can talk, but we are walking the walk. On behalf of the good people of this country, see Corey Lane, the MP for the city, just came in. Please give Corey a round of applause. But I came today to talk to you very quickly about social policy. And the country that I know that Barbados must build. You know, I plan sometimes what I'm going to say. Most times I don't. But I go as the Spirit leads me. Corey, you know the vibe. And as I sat there and I was listening to Roshana and I listened to Charles, I closed my eyes for a brief second and I imagined Barbados when we've done all of these things. We have a country that is so steeped in transformation. Imagine your country when we have finished all of these things that we have started. Think about it. We sing it every time we gather, but mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And I'm telling you that Barbados will be better off for this Labour Party. And Barbados will be better off for the nature of our intervention. I want to send you as much little red hearts from this Barbados Labour Party to the people here, because we love you all and what you're saying is a labor of love. I assure you. But where are we now? When I consider the overall policy position of this country, and the reality is that we have a lot of work to do, I ask myself, should Indar not be transforming agriculture? Because people are saying you're all changing too many things. So should Indar not be changing agriculture? What are we going to leave out? Should Kay not be busy making transformation in education? Should Charles not be reforming and transforming sports and youth? Should I therefore have left the social framework in Barbados 120 years old? What should we have left out? And the fact is that we have to do all of this work because we had 10 years of nothing. And so we now have, it's a fact. When we came into office, it would have been the first time in history that a government came in and found a country worse off than it was when the other government left it. And I'm not talking about BLP only, because the Dems previously took it forward too. But for some reason, the last administration did nothing. And so we have a lot of work to do. We have a direction to go, and we have to stay the course. I want to tell you all a few things. This is Child Month. Yesterday, I'm not going to talk about it, but yesterday somebody sent me a video. I don't know if some of y'all have seen it. A horrible video of some man with a child. Horrible video. I could not even watch the entire thing. People ask me why it is that we have to change the laws. The laws that govern child protection in Barbados currently are 120 years old. The reality is that we have cases before the law court sometimes that take forever. We have to make changes. The penalties are not stiff enough. And part of it is also about educating parents and working with families to be able to do better. This law, because I know when we bring it back to Parliament, and we're bringing it back to Parliament on the 14th, this law is going to make it safer for children in this country. There is not a social worker in Barbados that disagrees with it. Not one. When we met with the other persons who are doing this kind of like activism on behalf of children, they don't disagree with it either. We have political dissent for political reasons. But the truth is, we then took it back. We said, if you have issues with this bill, tell us what the issues are. And that we will make the necessary changes. Because the worst thing we could be in leadership is ego-driven. And you have to have a certain degree of humility where you step back and say, listen, if you feel something wrong with this, say, let me and you work through it. Tell me what you think is wrong. And that has been our approach. Roshana called it democracy. That has been our approach to administration. The bill goes back on the 14th. For those of you who have not seen it, I urge you just to read it for yourselves. Read it for yourselves. Compare what is to what we are bringing, and tell me where it is that we do not offer a better deal for children in this country, because we must. We say all the time that children are the future. We have to be in a position to better protect the children of this country. Future Barbados Labour Party people, future DLP people, future whatever party they choose to create, future doctor, lawyers, carpenters, people who choose to lime on a block, whatever they decide to do with their lives, this Barbados Labour Party must protect the children of this country, and the new child protection legislation will do just that. We have no choice. We also now have a situation where the architecture in the social policy arena is so old. I mean, Minister Lane, when he was in the ministry for the 9 months, 10 months that I had the opportunity, perhaps among the 10 best months of my life, when we worked together, Corey would tell you that a lot of what exists is old, is ancient. The PM says you have to deconstruct and reconstruct. Y'all must have heard it 100 times. And it only sounds cliche now because we're repeating it, but the fact is we're repeating it because it is simple and true. You have situations where the systems that exist now are the systems that would have existed for time immemorial. Charles was in the ministry for 20 years. I joined that ministry in 2002 as a manager of Child Care Board. So when I tell you about the things that I am doing, ain't because Mia put me there. I was doing this long before politics. And the things on which we are agreeing to do now are things that we agreed to do ever since. But it takes courage. Many people would rather kick a can down the road. I'm telling you this, I would rather lose my seat before I just warm a seat. I would rather lose it before I decide that I will just warm a seat. Barbados means too much to me. We ask ourselves, why do we have to fix the institutions? Because at the end of the day, imagine that Barbados now is a lot older than it used to be. We have an aging society. We all know that. When we talk about it, people think that I'm just talking about it for talking about its sake, but everything changes if your society changes. If the demographics change, if it means that you have less young people, it means eventually you're going to have a lot more older people, you're going to have less young people to care for those older people. And even so what's happened is that the baby boomers are now of age, but they chose to have 2 children. This generation is choosing to have no children. So what we are seeing, this is serious stuff. And I tried to take it, believe me, in Jesus' name, I tried to take this conversation out of politics because it will make no difference who is in when this thing comes home to roost. What will happen is that you will have a significant amount of older people and a smaller amount of younger people to care for them. And then among those people who are there to care for them, those who care for them is even smaller. So while we put in place systems of the view that the government's role was simply to support families, we now know that the government's role will be, in many cases, to replace what was the traditional role of the family. It therefore means that the systems that were built previously to address these situations are no longer fit for purpose. And therefore we are then forced to make these changes, or if we don't, I mean, we could easily sit back for another 10 years and kick it, relax. But I'm telling you, if we were to do that, it would be worse off for Barbados. I ask you to look around your community, look into your own family, and see the amount of older people who are struggling alone. Yesterday, I got a call in relation to a person with a disability, a recent amputee, needing transportation to the hospital. Because most people don't know that the National Disabilities Unit has a program where they offer that service. But the amount of people now is so much because many people would tell you that as soon as the government steps in, other people step back. So now, whenever a person has to go to the hospital, the disabilities unit, even with the best will and intentions, can't do it. And I must also thank the government because in these year's estimates, we have 3 more buses to be able to deliver this work, to be able to transport people, 3 more buses. So when we do the big things, we're also doing the small things. But even with that, it is still not going to be enough. And so when I say that persons have to look at the family, I'm not trying to shirk the responsibility of government. I'm not trying to blame any family. I'm just saying for this to work, we're all going to have to work together. There used to be a time when that was the nature of communities. I mean, I can't keep saying these things because communities have changed. But I do know that if we could just put a little bit more effort in the League of Young Socialists, help out the persons in the older part of the Labour Party. If you are a branch, because when I was president of the St. Michael Southeast branch of the Barbados Labour Party, I told St. Tommy and Barbara Bones and them, a branch should not only be a political institution. You have to function like a community group. You have to do community work. You have to be bigger than your MP in terms of the politics. You have to do community work. And so if branches are able to do community work, it would also take some of the pressure off. And this is a message across political landscapes, whether it's B, D, whatever. We have to be able to do that different kind of work. And I also know that in my ministry, the officers who come to work are tired. When you're doing this work for as long as they have been doing the work, you get tired. Officers would tell you there have been times where people have set dogs on them. They go in to do child interventions, people want to set dogs. People send them pictures of their cars, which is a quiet threat, that you know I see you. Or call the office and leave messages for them. So I have officers who are working very hard, and this is difficult work and under threat. We have to be able to do more for our young people. We have to be able to do more for our officers. So what is the future state that I speak of? I know that the family is going to be the cornerstone of our transformation. I know that we will finish this amalgamation before the end of this year. Right now, we've amalgamated Welfare, National Assistance Board, Disabilities Unit, and I said Welfare, NDU, Child Care, and National Assistance Board by the end of the year to be able to offer a total service to people. It's going to make a big, big difference. We're going to finish that. We're allowing the unions now to have their say and to make sure that we do it in accordance with what the unions want, but to be able to, not for me, not for the BLP, but for the people. And we have to remain focused at all times on the people. We get distracted. Roshana was right. We're getting distracted by politics. Leave the politics sometimes. Tell me what you are doing on behalf of people. Have you heard a single program, one, coming from the other side? Have you heard a single policy direction coming from the other side? No. And I'm telling you that we are at the point now where we have to do more for people. So in my future state, it is about working for people. I want to tell you yesterday, very quickly, I want to wrap up. I spoke about homelessness. I was asked about, what is causing this phenomenon, yada, yada. And I explained causing drugs, family interventions. We're seeing problems on all levels, and so on and so forth. I said relationships have been breaking down. And I said, it's been our reality that men have said, and it's true, you know how it is with the Caribbean man, many houses that they visit, children in every house, but no relationship with those children. It's a fact. It's been the way that Caribbean men, it's part of the slave mentality. Men were studs on slave plantations. I never blamed anybody. I got up yesterday morning to see a headline. You also saw in the back page, it said, Humphrey, some men are to blame. Well, I could not believe my eyes. The article then went on to say, Humphrey slams men. Humphrey slams men. So I was like, well, this man can't be serious. Then the article goes on to say, Humphrey said things would be different if men were to behave differently. Mind you, Humphrey said, the minister said, so you won't believe that I say so. Then, the person was having a field day. Then the article said, Humphrey said, it is because men are hopping from bed to bed. What you say in newspaper, you won't believe it's the I say so. I never say so. Then, this article was amusing. I'm not upset about it, funny enough. Then, after the person said, Humphrey said the man hopping from bed to bed, Humphrey said, that the men are living like rolling stones and gathering no moss. When I say to you that I said none of those things, you hear what I tell you? I said none, N-O-N-E, of those things. I'm coming home. None. So I messaged the reporter. I said, big man, who is this? The man said, well, you call that reported speech. So it's not direct speech, it's reported speech. So the nation now issues an apology to their clarification. Mind you, the error was on the back page, full story. The clarification is inside about so big so. And the clarification says, we are clarifying something that was said in error, but didn't say what the things were that were said in error. So I am saying that to you because you might see something said about one of your people that you vote in, that you know who they are. You know what's the tragedy about a lot of people? People let people that don't know you tell you who you are, and they know you. You have friends who will let a stranger define you, and your friends know you. So I didn't say any of those things in the paper. I'm not mad at the newspaper. They gotta do what they gotta do. But I'm just saying that to you as a caution, that sometimes when you see these things bandied about as truth, there is often no truth in it, for they lie, and the truth is not in them. So I ask the Labour Party family, I do so with the most genuine of intentions and the most humble of hearts, to stay the course. That you got up, not only Labour Party family, the people of Barbados. They got up on election morning, having seen us. In 2018, many of them had to walk in faith and not by sight. But by 2022, they had seen enough of us to know that they made a good choice. So I'm asking the people of Barbados, as the time draws closer, to recognize that we are the same people today that we were yesterday, and we will be the exact same people tomorrow, going to work every day only to work on their behalf and to make this Barbados the best place in the Caribbean, the best place in the world, and to continue to support our Prime Minister, who is the greatest Prime Minister and the most appropriate Prime Minister for the times. So as they target St. Philip, they also want to target the Prime Minister. I close by this. You might recall, in the last election that Owen Arthur ran, they put Owen as a dictator too. This dictator thing is a BLP thing. If you are good at your job, they will call you a dictator. They had Owen in all green hat. Took a big ad in the paper, dictator. They're using the same narrative against the Prime Minister. So the DLP is a one-trick pony. Using the same narrative now to define Mia Motley, but you have seen her. You have been with her through the trials that she's been through, and you are still here. And she is yesterday what she is today, and she will be the exact same thing tomorrow. The best person to lead this Barbados with the best Barbados Labour Party. I thank you very much for your time.
Would the driver of P6827 kindly remove your vehicle? You're actually blocking the driveway. P6827. Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Humphrey. As Minister of Social Transformation, you're doing a wonderful job, and you've pointed to us and let us know that the ministry is still at work and making better and doing better for the wonderful people of Barbados. Give them a round of applause again. St. Philip West, it gives me great pleasure to add a piece more, or a little more title to our MP, Ms. K. McConney, as I introduce her as our Member of Parliament for St. Philip West, our Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, and the bearer of good news. Put your hands together and welcome your MP, our MP, Ms. K. McConney.
Thank you very much, Denton. What a day, and what a time to be a member of this Barbados Labour Party. And when I heard Roshana Trim, who's the president of the League of Young Socialists, start out as she did, establishing why she chose to join this great party, I say, I'm with you. We with you. As I also heard Charles Griffith, who is the Member of Parliament for St. John, and also the Minister with responsibility for youth sports and community empowerment, I say thank you for the work you continue to do with this constituency. And as I give my constituency report today, I will share some of the work that he is helping us to make happen in this constituency. And I want to thank the MP for St. Michael South, Kurt Humphrey, and also the first Vice Chair of the Barbados Labour Party for coming out and supporting and for putting context to what it is that we're doing as it relates to the Child Protection Bill. And I want to thank also my comrade here in St. Philip, Mr. Indarware, who will follow me and close off today. But I come to you, St. Philip, US, with peace in my heart and with a spirit of camaraderie and a desire to work closely with everyone who is sincere about doing what is in the best interest of the people of St. Philip West, of the people of St. Philip generally, and of the people of this country overall. And whether you come here as a member of the Barbados Labour Party family, or you come here because there are some people who are here just as interested community workers who want to gain knowledge with facts and who wish to make a positive contribution regardless of which party is in action, I say to all of you, welcome, welcome. And just before I get into my constituency report, my abbreviated report, I will give a more fulsome report at our annual general meeting later on this year. But before I get into my report, something has been sitting on my mind, and I want to share it. And it is about connection. It's about connection. You mind if just before I get into my report, I share a little story with you? I have here with me a necklace that was broken a few days ago. It was a necklace created by a lady right here in St. Philip West from Halton. And it was given to me as a gift. And while I was moving it and taking it off, probably the wrong way, it popped. And I ended up with some pieces of this necklace that needs to be put back together. Now that woman happens to be here this evening, and so I brought along the necklace that she can restring it for me and put it back together. And I shared that little story because I know that in this party, in this St. Philip West community, there are some necklaces that have popped. And that's okay. Because those of you who don't, like me, have a necklace that broke, you may have had a favorite dress with the hem popped down. You may have had a favorite jeans or pants with the seams ripped a little bit. Or you had a favorite pair of shoes with the soles had worn out or even fallen off altogether. But because these things meant something to you, they had value, you loved them, you cared for them, you decided to go and look for a piece of thread and start to sew back that hem, or to find a seamstress or a tailor or a shoemaker to put back on the shoe heel and the sole. Why? Because you didn't just want to throw it away. It meant something to you. You cared about it and it had value. And I wanted to say that it is in moments like these when things pop and things break. It is in these moments when parts of things we care about become undone, either in part or in whole, that we in St. Philip West have to be quicker to repair it and mend it back than to throw it away. Because I can tell you that except for God's love, nothing on this earth is perfect. All of us have faults. And when our own imperfections show up, when our imperfections show up, when the ties that bind us to each other start to fray and rip out and fall off and pop, that is when we need to recognize that unity is the only thing that is going to cause us to put it back together. So to all of you today, before I get into my report, I just want to ask you please to stand on common ground with each other. Not to compromise your principles. I don't ever want you to do that. But I want for you to stand on common ground because it becomes the foundation on which we can stand together to build. And to honor the past because there was enough of the past that was good. Roshana told you about it. To be able to honor the present and uplift our community so we can make lives better for all the people in St. Philip West. And to make sure that as we build to the future, we do so with an understanding and with a strong belief that we can bounce back, that we are resilient as human beings, and that we can make things work. Because guess what? If we as a Barbados Labour Party family and those who understand what we are about do not stand together, we can end up with ourselves back in them hands. And so, I say to you, join me today with peace in your heart, with a spirit of camaraderie, and with a recommitment to work with people who are sincere about building up and lifting up the St. Philip West. And on that note, I am going to turn to my abbreviated constituency report. Because while I may be the Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, it was not that ministry that put me here. It was the people of St. Philip West. And at a branch meeting such as this, it is my responsibility to report to you how I have been working and serving you. For those people who do not know where we are, we have cards that you can get at the end, and of course, you can take a quick picture and know how to find us over by St. Patrick's in Grandview. And my report today, because I know you've been here for a while and there's one more speaker to come, I want to look at what we've done with regards to employment, education, housing, and infrastructure, and there's more to come. Come to the annual general meeting and you will learn what else there is that we're doing, but I am giving you a start today. On the employment front, when I went on the platform in 2018 to win the vote of St. Philip West, I spoke about the Job Works program. I wanted to put programs in place that will make the lives of people better. The Job Works program was put in place for adults who were really and truly looking for jobs and to work, thus the term Job Works. And that program has continued to perform with 3 different aspects of that program. One, we do preparation, so we prepare you for the world of work. We then actually help you to find opportunities. And then finally, once you get the opportunity, we provide additional support. And I'll give you some of the ideas. There are some people who have not worked for 5 years, 4 years, and understand that in Barbados, like many other places, you don't get paid until after you have worked. But in the meantime, you still need to get work. You still need lunch money. You still need some clothes to wear work sometimes. And so our Job Works program seeks to provide additional support until you can get on your feet. There are people in here who have benefited from that Job Works program. And I want to tell you, so far, we have 94 that have been employed. And I see one of the people who has benefited, they're clapping already. 94 who have been employed, 92 who has received resumes, and a whole host of others whom we have been able to offer that additional support. This Job Works program came from the campaign trail, and it has manifested itself in the work of this St. Philip West MP. Next. And I want you also to speak about education. It was another one of the things I talked about on the platform. And so my commitment to education, my mother is here this evening. Education has been the way that my family has been able to move itself up in this world. It is a core value of how I was raised. And one of the first things that we did when we came in was to partner with a local institute, and I give scholarships. There is a scholarship program that I have started in collaboration with our partner. I did not get their permission to call their name this evening. I should have done so, so I will not embarrass them or put them out there if they do not choose to be named. But so far, I will tell you where we are. 30 scholarships have been given out since I came to office to serve the people of St. Philip West. And I have broken them down for you from there in 6 different areas of study, from childcare development to nursing auxiliary to front office management to cosmetology to housekeeping for the hospitality industry and protective security. And so far, you will see here how they have been distributed over the period of time of my stewardship here in St. Philip West. And I want to tell you that in addition to those 30, we have 8 more who will be starting their scholarships come May and June. And this is because we recognize that some people don't just want a handout, they want a hand up. And that if we can only put them in a better position to earn more, they're able to do so. Again, we have some scholarship winners who have graduated in this crowd here today. To all of you, I say congratulations. Happy to have served. And we also have continued our back to school program, which I started from the first year that I was here. I want to say to you that in 2023, we had set a goal after 2022, starting for the first time. 2023, we set a goal and we exceeded that goal. And I want to say we added 2 new areas of support to our back to school program that was not there in 2022 or 2023. That is in 2023, we added 2 new areas of support, not only the uniforms and the shoes and the books and the backpacks and the wrapping paper for the books and the geometry sets and all that goes with that. But we also added the deaf community. For the first time, we shared our backpacks with the deaf community to ensure that St. Philip West isn't just for ourselves. Where there are people in the community who can help, we have shared with them. We have also added 3 new partners, 1 an international partner, to our efforts for back to school. And this year, 2024, we have increased our goal, and I think with God's help and that of our partners, we will make that too as we increase our effort on behalf of these children. the education. We had a literacy program called Learn to Read for the 4 to 6s and a Reading to Learn for the 7 to 11s. And we had a number of students who graduated and went on to high school, to secondary school last year. They are doing well, thank you very much. And we are getting ready again to have our 2024 literacy program, Learning to Read and Reading to Learn, launched again. We took a break between last year and today, and we're getting ready to go again this year. And so to all the parents who really think they need support, do contact us at the office. We left our numbers up front so that we know how many tutors, volunteers, are willing to come and work with us given the number of children, because we try to keep the ratios small. So to all of you who know you have children in these age groups who are learning to read or whom you would like now to be reading to learn, let us know so that we can plan with your child in mind. I also want to say this year we worked with our sister ministry and we were able to get some potable water tanks for a number of persons. There's some communities right here in St. Philip West where I know, for example, in Harlington, you had water that at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, it would just go off. And then it would not come back on. I see someone there from Harlington nodding their head, and then it wouldn't come back on until the afternoon some mornings, which was just the time when children and people needed to go to work and go to school. And so a significant part of those water tanks went to our community there, who are now happy that at least they have potable water. We had 45 people who were submitted from across the constituency. 100% of the assessments were completed, 100% of the bases were built, and 2/3 now of the installations have been completed. With regards to housing, as you know, we had a number of persons who had received damage from ELSA. Unfortunately, not all are yet repairs. In fact, our constituency assistant is getting the updates on the repairs and the rebuilds. That's when you had to rebuild the whole thing. We know a number of them have been completed, but I did not want to give you the incomplete statistics today. Again, come to the annual general meeting and you will get the rest of the information. But there were also those who made submissions for materials, but they would provide the labor. And I am happy to tell you that 100% of the assessments for those materials have been completed, and 59% of the materials have already been distributed as of the end of April. We have 15 more outstanding. And as you know, I work with my colleagues across the government, and Dwight Sutherland, who has responsibility for housing, he was to come today, but he said he will come the next time. There have been about 3 locations across St. Philip West that have been identified for the possibility of housing. I cannot commit because that is not my ministry, but when he comes, you will be able to ask him. I know of the areas that have been identified, but I can't be previous. So I, therefore, am going to leave that, but just letting you know that we have kept you in mind as it relates to housing, and those conversations have started. There have been questions about roads. I am sure Denton Critchlow, who is the facilitator here today, gonna be happy enough to say that Yorkshire Road has been completed. Not only has Denton, but Denton and many of the people in that Fairview, St. Patrick's area have for years been advocating for Yorkshire Road. Finally, it is done, and I thank the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Omar Motley, and I thank our Deputy Prime Minister, Santia Bradshaw, and I thank all who continue to send petitions and sign and make noise and do all that it took to ensure that Yorkshire Road is the sweetest road to be driving on now in St. Philip West. But I want some of the other people to understand that we have not forgotten you. Again, the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Bradshaw, we had invited her to be here. She prefers to be here a little bit later, and I will bring her, as I have taken her to some specific communities already, but now that she can come to the overall branch to share with you what are the plans for the roads. Your Member of Parliament has been lobbying on your behalf. As recently as yesterday, we were talking about what's on the list and what's not, because you know you can ask for roads, but that doesn't necessarily mean you will get them until they're on a list and have been assessed. And a contractor, whether it is the ministry itself or an external contractor, has been assigned, you can't guarantee that you're getting the road. And so what I can tell you is we have continued to put these roads that you see here on the table, and there are other roads, because the way the road situation is broken up, it is for those roads that require reconstruction. Those are the big bills. They have to dig up everything, and they almost have to go back to foundation. And then you have the mill and pave. Those ones need some repairs. And these are main roads that need major roads, significant roadways that need repairs. And then there is the short roads, that's the cart roads, the roads that were never quite roads, but you know, we made them roads over years. And so under every single one, we have sent in additional ones, and we were asked yesterday when we were having a discussion to add the additional cart roads. Now this is where I call on you. We can't know all. So if in your community you have some short roads in there, some cart roads that you believe might need some assistance, please let us know at the office. That does not, thank you very much. We have our community person there from Edgecombe. They're telling us that they're definitely talking. Now this does not mean I can guarantee you I do not build roads. I'm not Minister of Roads. But what we will do and what I can guarantee you is that I will submit them and continue to lobby on behalf of the people of St. Philip West. And so whether the Cottageville, Farm Road, Woodburn Park, St. Patrick's Roundabout to Charnock's, Fairview, Bright Hill, and there are some others that I don't have there that we know that need to be attended to. With regards to the lighting, the installation of lighting has been slow. And I think that I am seeing my colleagues nodding that it is all over Barbados at this time. What we did is we have identified, as at the beginning of this month, about 63 different lights that have been requested. We have confirmed that in 4 of the areas, lights have been installed, the most recent being that darkness at the back of Coverley going to Leadville is now lit up like Christmas at night. And while I am on lights, I want to thank Minister Griffith. I see he has stepped away. Here he is coming back. For the lights you have given us, sir, over at Gardner Walters Primary School and that field over there that is by the Crusaders. I thank you. In addition, the lights that are at Chapel playing field. Chapel now has lights, sir, and I thank you. I will still remain in your ears for the community gym that I have asked for and for the pavilions that I know we were asked about. But again, recognize that all across Barbados, people are asking for the same thing. Corey is asking for the same thing. Kirk is asking. Indar is asking. And everybody has to get. So all I am saying to you is I will stay in his ears. And just as he brought the light, I hope he will bring also the other equipment for the soccer fields and the others that we also need. So thank you, sir, for the support that you have given us. With regards to flood and drainage, thank God Jane Circle is now completed. It has been flooding for years. We went, I was able to go and inspect myself. We know that there's still some areas in Woodburn, and I really want to thank the Department of Emergency Management and our community DM, who has worked with, I believe it's Selwyn Brooks and others, as well as Mr. Hutchinson from our St. Philip West community, to come up with a plan that they think might be able to work to at least ameliorate the situation in Woodburn. And I want to say thanks to them because they did a lot of the heavy lifting on behalf of that community. Now we have to see where would we find the money to fund it, but at least we know people are paying attention closely. In addition, we know that there are areas in Marchfield, Lowlands, Ebenezer, and Oldbury. The Oldbury over by Joan had started, people had come and done assessments, but there is still significant work to be done. So what I am saying to you is we have only just begun. It is not over, but I want you to be patient, and I want you to stay connected to our office and stay connected to each other as we seek to lobby together to get this done. We don't have enough time today to talk about some of the other infrastructure, and so I will just talk about some of the community engagements we have. I see we have some people here from our community, not down the road, far down the road. Just a week before in Windsor Hannies, we were there with the Ministry of Transport and worked, trying to make sure that we get a crosswalk there. And we give our hearts out to that little girl who was knocked down there just recently. And that has been an ongoing problem, and we continue to work with that community and the Ministry of Transport and work to bring safety to our community. The sports facilities, for those of you who have young women and men who want to play netball, we have a netball team that is currently operating for young women over in St. Martin's, Harlington, right on the border with Indarware. And they are looking for more people to join. So if you know some young women and young men even who want to play netball, let us know, because we are really trying to lift the support for the creation of structured and meaningful activity for our young people. For some of the schools, I don't have time to show you all the pretty pictures. Again, you have to come to the annual general meeting to find all those things. But I really want to thank the chairman of Princess Margaret, who's here with us, Jeremy. Princess Margaret, I don't know when last you all went up there in the hall, but after, I can show you on my phone, or Jeremy can probably show you on his. The hall has been redone. They have redone the staff room. It is, I want to be in that staff room. They have redone the quarters for the auxiliary staff, and they have done a tremendous amount of work. The color of the rooms, just the look of the rooms have actually changed. So those of you who are curious, I can show you on my phone, but I'll also show you all next. Many of you who are by Gordon Walters will also know that that school received significant repairs last year. Most of the repairs have been finished, and now we have to work on what the aesthetics would look like and to fix at least a couple more blocks that still need to be done. Understand, we can't do all one time. So we do piece by piece by piece, and we have fixed the worst of it all. We do know we still have to bring furniture up there. We know we have a whole bunch of other things, but remember there are schools all across Barbados who need exactly the same thing, and we need to distribute and make sure every child gets an opportunity to be in a good environment. Christmas hampers, I'm not going to talk much about those, but again, this year we continued our Christmas hamper drive, and I thank our new partners who came on board to take care of some of our ladies. I will not call the name of them, even though I can look and see some of those new partners who came on board to help look after our ladies with special lady things at the Christmas hamper time. And I really want to say to those of you who want to volunteer this year, we have started to prepare for both back to school and Christmas, and we're looking for volunteers. Janelle is here. Please sign up with her before you go so that we can help all. And there is so much more, but I know that we have to close tonight and you want to get home. Plus, we have some refreshments here for you and a little bit of fun time after. So I will say to all of you, thank you for giving me the privilege to serve you. This is my constituency report as of May 2024, and I will update it in time for our next community meeting and in time for our annual general meeting. Before I go, I want to say to all of you, back up. If you don't know, please ask before you sound off. If you are in need and you need to see me, speak to the MP's office. If you don't, we have given you the numbers, please call. If you have extra of anything, we have a fisherman in the community who helps us give some fish to some of the old people. If you have extras of anything, don't hesitate to let us know, because we feed people in and out all year round, and we always need more. And if you can lend a hand, we ask that you continue to volunteer. That is how we stay connected, by serving with a shared purpose to better the lives of the people in St. Philip West. On that note, I say thank you, and thank you, and thank you again.
St. Philip West working. Thank you, Minister McConney. And some of what has been mentioned, to be quite honest, I wasn't even aware of. And I want to personally say to you that if I have slackened off, I am back in full gear, and you have my support 110%, and you can count and see me back on the bandwagon even further because of the good work of the Minister, Ms. McConney. And trust me, I'm gearing up. I'm gearing up for when the big time comes. And you know that I like the battle, I like the platform, I like the battlefield. And I have good reports to present to the wonderful people of St. Philip West that we have a working MP who is doing a good job and will continue. We're keeping it in St. Philip. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any more time. As I introduce to you the Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Indar Weir, our neighbor and comrade.
Thank you, Denton. Good night, everyone. I know that in my days as a boy playing cricket, I used to be an opening batsman. But cricket has changed a lot. We are now into T20, and you got batsmen that you call the ones that come at the dead. They're the ones that close the innings and bring it home. And so my role in cricket continues. I want to say, though, that I am here tonight because I strongly support Kay as the MP for St. Philip West. And I'm doing so genuinely. Kay has proven to you tonight that she has done more for this constituency in 2 short years than what has ever been done since this constituency has been created, and this is well over 10, 15 years. You cannot ignore the work of an MP in an environment where we have limited resources, being challenged at a time when almost every single thing that you can think of that will stall government's work and inhibit the work of an MP, Kay has been able to show you tonight what she was able to eke out for you, the people of St. Philip West. And I say to all of you, she deserves to be your MP whenever the next time comes. I wish also to state that I'm particularly pleased with what my colleague Charles has shared with us tonight, and I want to thank Charles for the work he's been supporting Kay with. I believe that the two of them have worked so well together, I'm beginning to feel jealous because I want to feel the same support in the South. But I know we as men, we put ladies first. And therefore, being the gentleman that we are, I wish to thank Charles for what he has done for Kay in St. Philip West. My colleague Kirk, we sit at the same table in cabinet, and we share a lot. And I think if I want to take away anything from tonight's meeting, I would want to take away what Kirk shared with you in terms of this environment we're in, and being able sometimes to separate the politics from our hardcore reality and recognize that politics will only take us so far. But we as a people have to look beyond the politics if we are going to survive this ethos. And I'm saying so because if you look globally, you will find that we are battling things that no other government in Barbados' history was called upon to battle. And if you were to look at what is happening in Dubai, look at Pakistan, where floods took place, crops were underwater for close to 3 months. The challenges that we face with climate, and indeed how we balance climate with globalization, is perhaps the greatest challenge mankind faces today, and the one that we as a Barbados Labour Party government has seen a champion emerge globally to tackle it in the Bridgetown initiative called Mayor Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. Climate action, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing we should scoff at. Climate action requires for all of us to understand where we exist in this world and how vulnerable we are to climate change. Barbados, as a small island developing state, will not survive unless we call on the industrialized nations and the first world countries of this day to take responsibility for what they have done to the world. And in doing so, therefore, we need to recognize that you cannot rely on simple politics. People come into parliament masquerading as an opposition leader, but does not know how to deal with government policy. Cannot tell you for one moment what is in the next budget for this financial year. Cannot tell you anything that has been written down in the estimates documents that you can dissect and come to parliament and make a case. You talk about government spending in a very generalized, very silly presentation on a Prime Minister's office having 180 million, but cannot break it down yourself to ask questions as to where this 180 million is going, but would then want to go to a meeting and call on Minister Strawn to break it down for you. My first order of business as Minister of Agriculture is to be able to read my estimates. I must be able to speak line by line by line by line on what we are spending. And Roshana, you're right. If we continue to see politics in the way we are seeing politics, you're going to have young people turning away from coming to serve, and therefore we find ourselves at a stage where Barbados is going to return to where it was before us. And I'm very serious about this point. I'm going to develop this later. But I say to you, stop, pause, think. There is something called an opposition that is only a phantom of an opposition office. Previous opposition leaders came to Parliament with information, with facts, with things to challenge a government on. And we as a government will look forward to debating those issues in Parliament. But we find ourselves in a position where things are grabbed from social media, not from government policy. The views of an individual who may very well be totally ignorant. The views of individuals who may just have a view and want to share it, and social media facilitates that. The view of people who are downright haters of the government. And then the views of those who feel as though this Barbados Labour Party can do no good for this country, so they're prepared to bastardize everything that we do. And you have in Barbados the third oldest parliament in the Commonwealth being reduced now to a social media conversation where everything that is placed on social media, be it factual or not, is being brought for us to address. Case in point, a meeting held, and you start to criticize the cybercrime legislation, and you cite Section 20, and you're talking about you can't insult people. But I don't know where we exist. When you could cite a piece of legislation, you go to a section to say you can't insult people anymore, and the same person that's saying so trying to insult the political leader of this party by saying she's a dictator. I mean, we have to get real. And I said to all of you, look, this is not about me. Look at my head. I will soon approach the departure lounge. My colleague Charles and Kirk and Kay will carry on. But I say to all of you that you now have to double down and look for the devil where he's at and rebuke him. Because you cannot have a conversation in Barbados that tells you that everything in this country is wrong. Were that the case, you all will be suffering. None of you would be here this evening. And therefore I say to you, seek, and you shall find. Look for the facts. And I said in an interview with CBC that when I was called upon to defend what transpired with the lands deal at Newton, somewhere by Ballantyne, which had nothing to do with me, there is no permission granted. But you can associate a conversation from the opposition leader telling Barbadians that I, the Minister of Agriculture, took land out of agriculture. Now, what does it mean to take land out of agriculture? Take land out of agriculture means that crops are being planted. Somebody is working that ground, and therefore you have deprived that person, so there's a deprivation caused by the minister. Land in agriculture that can be good for agriculture usage is simply land that can be used for agriculture, not land in agriculture. Land in agriculture is land that is in production. And so even to fail to make that distinction, and I don't mind, because if you can't read the estimates, you don't know what is in the budget, I don't expect you to know these details. Because government policy is something you must be able to understand in order to deal with governance. This is the problem we face. Barbadians, I say to you, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to yourself first and foremost. That if you are so inclined to question the government on facts, question the government's work by going through your parliamentary representative, be it Kay, be it me, be it Kurt, be it Charles, any of us, to make sure you get the facts. The one thing you should not do is allow yourself to be led astray or deceived by perfidious politics of the day that seeks only to denigrate the work of a government whilst you can offer no solution. Somebody told me a rat ran through George Street and created mayhem. Men and women screaming, gone for a blacksmith to help them. And then the rat then start to whip up a set of old rats to bring them to take on the battle. That is what you call politics. I said to you, look, leadership starts by what you exemplify. If you are a leader, you do not create chaos and mayhem at your start. And the moment that you as a leader cannot take control and turn the situation into one where people will rally around you, you have demonstrated you're not fit for a purpose. You cannot be the Prime Minister of this country. Because you've demonstrated that you cannot lead. We have had challenges in the Barbados Labour Party. Of course we did. The current Prime Minister was removed as opposition leader. We have had a member of Parliament suspended, expelled from the Barbados Labour Party. We have had our challenges, but we have never at any time in our existence have somebody applying for membership to take over our party. Never. And we have never had a situation where some people bullied that person in, and then when time comes to really lead, they can't lead because rats all over the place. Never. And I don't want people to start comparing Barbados Labour Party to the Democratic Labour Party because there's no comparison. We have nothing to compare at this point in time. Let's give credit where credit is due. Right Excellent Earl Walton Barrow came out of the bosom of the Barbados Labour Party. He saw the work of Grant Lee Adams. Grant Lee, at a time when we were a British colony, started to give us schools that were known as comprehensive schools so that children didn't finish school at 14 years old by only going to primary school. But that was work for the time, and I've said this before. What Grant Lee did was carried on by Earl Barrow because he knew it was right. And so the fact that he granted universal free education in this country was a continuation of the work that this Barbados Labour Party started. When did we fool ourselves that this was some stroke of genius, some kind of vision that was created by a man just because he felt that he had to do something different? The work was already being done. So that I say to you, look, the times we are living in require leadership. Leadership for this time means that we need to understand and come to terms with what is happening globally. Globally, no country is safe without the other. And that is the reason why, for many decades now, we had a conversation on globalization. Globalization saw us try to bring countries to benefit from the strength of the various countries involved. So that if you had a good cadre of doctors, we can benefit. If you had a good cadre of agronomists, then others can benefit, and you share and you exchange. That's what the global platform created. Globalization gave to us an opportunity for us to benefit from labor coming to Barbados and us sending labor to other countries. The fact that globalization has been brought to a point where you are seeing attempts to deglobalize is because people have now to grapple with climate. Climate action and globalization must be joined at the hip. If they are not joined at the hip, you're going to focus on one and then you're going to leave the other. The two must come together. So that if you want to have a conversation to me as Minister of Agriculture, don't come and ask me about sheep that went to Guyana. Talk to me about the instruments for enfranchisement. You can speak to instruments for enfranchisement in agriculture, and we can have a conversation. You can speak to instruments for enfranchisement in sports, we can have a conversation. You can speak to instruments for welfare, and we can have a conversation. But we have not yet had an attempt by anyone challenging this government to speak to instruments that we can take this country into the future by the use of instruments that would empower young people and give our people a fighting chance to survive globalization and climate change. None of those things have happened. Who is the champion for all of this? One single person with a very strong, robust cabinet that has taken this country through the challenges that this world faces. We have to face the facts. And I thought that if leadership in opposition would have come to us to challenge us for what we are doing, they should take us into a new paradigm. Take us to where you understand the world is and what you understand we ought to do to be able to give a fighting chance for generations coming behind us. That conversation has not taken place, and I challenge all of you to tell me if you have confidence that it will take place, because it will not. It will not. Agriculture, ladies and gentlemen, is not a simple conversation. And whenever I speak to agriculture, I remind myself, and I keep reminding people of the movie Matrix. matrix. If you've not looked at it, you can look at it again. You can take the time now to look at it. An environment that was challenging mankind by change, and that we had to adjust ourselves to survive, but we couldn't do it ourselves. And therefore, Morpheus went to the innocent little Neo and said, "You are the man. You have to do this." Similarly, Prime Minister came to me, a man trained in business and tourism, and said, "I want you to be the Minister of Agriculture of Barbados. You will be responsible for food security of this country." The only person I remember was Neo. And that Neo fought his battles in that movie to the point where all of us watching thought he wouldn't survive. But because he was so determined to make sure the responsibility that he undertook will be carried out, he made his way back to the system, a thermal energy that connected him from that world back to a world of reality so that he can survive and fight again. And that is what I face in agriculture. So that when I battled climate, and that when we thought we had poultry settled, and that we have seen a 13% growth in poultry, the best figures in poultry ever, the closest was in 2020, when we went to 10.7 million birds produced in the sector or the subsector. To now we have produced 11 million. The best. No other Minister of Agriculture don't mind how to come and talk, don't mind how to come and criticize me. I don't mind. I tell everybody I thrive on criticism, because you're going to point out to me something that I miss. And when you do it, I can make sure that I correct it. So I am not averse to criticism. But you cannot tell me that if I grew from where we were in 2020 to higher now in 2024, that we are not working. The pork pig farmers of Barbados met with me, and we had conversations around what will happen for World Cup, because we recognize that if you're going to have 30,000 more people in your space in one given month, they must eat. And we sat and we were frank. They told me up front they cannot meet the demand. Mind you, we got 1% growth in pork production in Barbados first quarter. But what we have to do is be honest with ourselves. And therefore, when they were able to say to me, "Minister, we will produce all that we can, but some got to be imported," we agreed. But what we are trying to do is to look at the tariffs related to pork, so that if you are importing pork, you do not operate with the same tariff that was introduced to us, not by my government, the government which came to power in 2008 and allowed for pork to be imported into Barbados below the bound rate of 185%. So some people are importing pork at 20%, some at 84%. These decisions were not taken by me, nor by this administration. And we have a long way to go to fix it, because they're not fooling nobody. If we cannot ramp up production in Barbados, we cannot solve the problem right away. And the pig farmers agreed with me that we have to ramp up production. That's the reason why we're doing a guilt program. And we are also using artificial insemination to give us back genetics that we can use to give us rapid production. Now, I heard one senator said that I am talking about guilt program, spelled G-U-I-L-T-Y, guilty, because we have lost our genetics. The best genetics we have with pig farmers are now. We have a wide variety. We don't have pigs with teeth sticking out the side of their mouth like in the past. You don't see that anymore. So the person that was speaking clearly just wanted to talk for the same of speaking, just like everyone else that seeks to form an opposition voice against this government, don't check facts, ain't interested in what is going on, but want to come and make all of you believe that we are not worthy of running this country where you are comfortable, can sleep comfortably at night, can wake up and go to work, can feed your children, can pay your bills, and yes, there are those who are struggling, but Barbados is not a perfect place. All across the world, inflation is high. So therefore, this is not a situation that's unique to Barbados. Let us hear how we can end the war with Russia and Ukraine that has impacted costs. Let us hear how we can deal with the fact that Palestine and Israel, let us hear how we're going to make sure that we can address the situation in Haiti to treat people like human beings. Let us hear how the potential of a conflict between Guyana and Venezuela can destroy our lives. Why aren't we having these conversations? We are not, because the opposition that we have today isn't about you or your future. It is about them and their future sitting in Parliament and occupying Bay Street, and you all have a responsibility to make sure it does not happen here. That is your responsibility. And I can't do it alone. Kurt can't do it alone. Kay can't do it alone. Charles, all of us combined can only offer ourselves again. But I'm telling you, everything we did in this country since taking office in 2018 has been transformational. Sewage in the streets. People don't want us to say that. We had sewage in the streets on the South Coast. And we stopped it. Electronic buses. We have them, and we're getting more. Garbage being collected. It's not perfect. We have had COVID, and we have ashfall, and we had Hurricane Elsa. Don't tell me don't talk about them. They happened to us. And they slowed us down and stopped us from being where we ought to be. So when India is talking about the challenges it had, and China is talking about the challenges it had with COVID, even though they made sure that they used COVID to produce more mass than mankind has ever known to keep their country growing at some 20-something% during the pandemic. It tells you globally how they are working on us. And for someone to come and tell you that we are not doing a good enough job by making sure that we cover ourselves. Black belly sheep in Guyana is good for Barbados. It is good for Barbados because we do not have capacity. We do not have scale. We cannot raise 1 million heads of black belly sheep in Barbados no matter how we try. The work done by ICA and FAO told us that we need to get to 1 million heads if we want to do an industry with black belly sheep. Guyana has the space. It has the water. Don't let nobody come to you with nonsense. This is almost like the man that is telling you, you don't need shoes to walk on the road, but he's wearing shoes. We must do what we have to do. This is a government that is prepared to be bold. Kay is bold with education. She must. Because just like post-World War II, where Britain and the US saw the need for education, because in order for them to rebuild their economy, they had to get involved in telecommunications, they had to get involved in rail, and they saw the need for education at a time where if they didn't do it, they couldn't move as fast as they wanted to. We are at a junction now where you're looking at robotics, artificial intelligence. You're looking at what is called fit for purpose, where you cannot expect a child now to go to university graduate and struggle to find a job. You have now to create an environment before that child goes to university, he or she knows exactly why they're going to university, and they come out to an environment where they go and do the mentorship, where they go and start off as apprentices. That is what we need now. And that is where K is taking this country with educational reform. You can fight it all you want if you don't want it. But let me tell you, it's not for you. It's for your children. They are the ones who will suffer if you fight it down. And when you fight it down, you put them just where they are today, where a fellow can boast that he went to Harrison College, and another one can boast about where he went to school. But at the end of the day, your child who didn't go to any of those schools must feel as though he will not make it amongst them. We have to change that narrative, and I like it. Don't get me wrong. I sit with my colleagues and hear them going at one another, and I enjoy it. But we have to reach a point in time where another conversation must take over. And that conversation has to be about earning. What do I do when I left university? Where am I going? And when I speak about globalization and climate being joined at the hip, this is exactly what I mean. That we can get the best minds coming to Barbados to help us. And equally, we can export the best minds from Barbados to give our people a chance to experience a different environment in order for them to share with us what is happening globally and why we should be able to exchange labor. And if we fail to do that, we are fooling ourselves. And the fact that you want to bring us to a point where you're saying that Barbadians are incompetent because a non-Barbadian is running the hospital is to fool all of you. The very person making this statement made a living in the United States of America, one man on a call-in program. Made a living in the United States of America. If they had that mentality, he couldn't make a living there. So let us get real. We need the best minds. And this is not me that Barbadians don't have good minds. Well, there are many that are brighter than Kirk. Kirk, didn't you lecture at Harvard? There you go. We can't fool ourselves. Where's Harvard? You'd imagine Harvard blocking Kirk? No, we can't do that. We can't. We give everybody a fair chance because we need that exchange. Barbadians all over the world are what we call global citizens, champions. Imagine if Rihanna was blocked. Think it through. What would have happened if Rihanna was blocked? This lady is a Barbadian millionaire and a living national hero. Could she have gotten there if she was blocked? What foolishness are we getting on with? Telling Barbadians that nobody should come here and get a top job. Huh? Barbados got some of the best jobs in the world. I was offered a job in Belgium. I was offered a top job in Belgium. The fact that I didn't take it is because my heart was more with politics. But we got to stop it. I served on an international board for tourism, grounded in Europe, in Rome. And I had to travel from Barbados every month to chair a committee on the travel trade, rail, and hospitality. This Barbadian did that job. I was the Caribbean representative on the UFTA board for travel agents and tourism affiliates. I also sat on the IATA board, the IATA executive committee for travel in the region. All the changes that took place, moving from books to determine how a person can book a flight and how you calculate the airfare, transitioning to technology. I was the person sitting on that committee going through those changes and bringing Barbadians and the Caribbean travel trade through that transition. And I'm a Barbadian. It wasn't all Americans. It wasn't all Europeans. So when we come with this nonsense that we depriving Barbadians from serving? Who is the CEO of CIBC? We got Barbadians at top jobs, doing a great job. And well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, right? I don't want to hold you all night. I can talk a lot more. I can talk a lot more. But I want to say to you, right? I have a certain passion about my country. This country that I live in, I raised up in Church Village. Not far away from here. I grew up in Church, take it up for me. I grew up in Church Village. Poverty was what we knew. Okay? Chapel, Cliffden. Crop season, we were happy. You get to see Granny cut down she cane field. You know some money can come. They have something called a back pay, and we look forward to them things. But that was for those times. It didn't mean that we had to remain poor and couldn't pull ourselves up by the bootstraps to become where we are today. I, as a boy of Church Village and the first in my family, walked up the stairs of Parliament. That means something to our people. Had I buried myself in the belief that because you were poor, that you couldn't achieve these things, I will be still the same place. Let us give our people a fair chance. Let us do it. And stop this foolishness about telling people we don't want non-nationals to come here to work. They contribute to our economy in a meaningful way, and they share with us what is going on globally where we haven't been able to go and participate. So let's do that. But you want to hear about a government that is progressive before I close? The sugar industry. Sugar industry, all of us know. I dare a fella in this room tonight, I'm not talking about the young ones like Roshana and them, but all of you that sitting there, I dare all of you to tell me, those of you in my age group and above, that you don't know about the sugar industry. That at a time, all of us formed part of the labor force in the sugar industry. We got minimum wages, we get some back pay, and we went home and go back to the field for minimum wages. Sugar industry today has been transformed by me and this Barbados Labour Party government and the Prime Minister of Barbados, who insisted that I must do it. To give all of the workers in the sugar industry ownership of the sugar industry. That is what we have done. And I've seen all the articles written. I've heard all the comments on Facebook, seen them on brass stats, heard them on brass stats, sorry. Listen, transformational work is not always tidy. You can do two things with a scalpel. You can use it to save a life, or you can use it to destroy a life. I use the scalpel to empower people. We will tidy up. Of course we will. My last meeting with the team, we identified all the assets left. We identified all the assets that are going in to this transitioning. And we identified how we are going to present the owners of this new industry with their shares shortly. But this was never going to be a straightforward, easy, tidy, no mess situation when you're talking about transformation with timelines. It was never going to be. But we got here. The government will not spend $30 million a year now on a sugar industry. So think of what that money can do for you. Think of where it can go in agriculture. Agriculture needs money. We need money to put in water. We need money to help people. The farmers here at Fairview were complaining about the pump being down. It was down because we had the money at the time to fix it. And we had to find the money to fix it. Same thing in Marchfield, okay? You're farmers, okay? So let us not fool ourselves. And as we work towards bringing you a better Barbados, I say to all of you tonight in this room, my voice cannot be the only voice. Kirk's voice can't be the only voice. Kay's voice can't be the only voice. Charles's voice can't be the only voice. The best person to speak is you, the people. Go out and let them know they're not talking with fools who are listening to anything that is pulled from the streets, from social media, not grounded in government policy, don't know anything about government policy, can't read the estimates document, cannot address anything that came in the budget. You cannot listen to those people. I beg you do. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to me. Hope I didn't keep you too long. May God bless you.
All right, on that note, I really want to just say a thank you, and then we have some refreshments. Please partake, enjoy yourself, relax a little bit with us. In St. Philip West, hospitality is always good. And so I want to say, first of all, thank you to Janelle Johnson, the president of the St. Philip West branch, and the entire executive and the entire branch of St. Philip West for putting on this event today. I really also want to thank Denton Critchler, who agreed to become the chair of proceedings today. Thank you, Denton. And to the caterer, Mrs. P's Kitchen, who will be giving us a little something good this evening. To the custodian for the pavilion, Ms. Beckles, we thank you for accommodating us whenever we needed to come in to do things. To the sound man, DJ Tone, thank you so much for bringing the proper sound here. The projector screen for Jeremy Jones, for the streaming, Selwyn and Ricky, comrades Roshana, Charles, Kirk, Indar, for really and truly coming out and supporting St. Philip West today. We are in this together. To all of you who have come from within our community, as well as the surrounding communities, I see my girl here giving me the face. I want to say thank you, and I hope there's no one that I have forgotten. And if I have, it is still with love. Let's keep connected. Thank you.